we are finally going to get into the banana conversation. So, what do I mean by the banana conversation? We're going to be talking not just about the piece Enter Comedian, but I suppose you already know because you know the title. We're going to be talking about why people get upset at art. I feel like I've made comments about things relating to this topic in other videos, especially when we talked about like what is art in the past, or man, I don't remember the name of the episode where we talked about Richard Prince. So I want to discuss like the banana piece Enter Comedian. If you don't know, I will in the YouTube video put a picture of it, but I will also just describe it here in the podcast. And I forgot the artist's name, so I need to look that up because it is, what is it? Maurizio Catalan. So, basically, it was at Art Basel, Basel, I don't know. This artist, I will call him a conceptual artist primarily, or just, conceptual artist, duct taped a banana to a wall. And that sold for $120,000. Now, I didn't really do much research because that's just how I roll. But I do have some things to say about it. And again, this is a broader conversation. It just starts with the banana thing because it's been floating around my Facebook for weeks and I can't believe it's still a thing. And basically, I don't understand why people are so up in arms about it. Like, I'm up in arms over the fact that people can't get over it. Like, I don't understand what the big deal is. People are upset about it. People are going pouty about it. Again, in the YouTube video, I'll share this picture, this meme or whatever. It was just like someone I'd seen this many times, and I've commented a couple times on people, especially other artists, visual artists or writers or photographers or whatever. I guess those are visual artists too, but I had seen it's mostly coming from other artists getting like upset about it, and I just don't get it. So this thing that I was going to show in the YouTube video for those who are listening on the podcast, it was just basically like an illustration of an artist carrying like a small like hard case portfolio with drawings falling out of it, like beautiful portraits and stuff, and then it has like a speech bubble and it says, "Why do I even bother?" Because of the banana thing, like it shows the banana somewhere or whatever, and it was just like, really, like this seems so pouty and like a pity party. Ugh. Okay, so a little more background info on the banana thing, on Enter Comedian, because that's the thing. No, we'll get to background in a second. So, people are getting upset about it. Again, I don't know why people are getting upset about it. People are like, oh man, that's not art. I guess that's been the discussion, is that's not real art. And I was like, well, okay, this is what happened. Somebody made something, and somebody bought something. And that's it. That's all that happened. You know, an artist, or if you don't even want to call them an artist, an individual created something, they called it art, and then an art collector bought what someone called art. So whether or not you want to believe it's art or not, let's just take that part right out of the equation. Who cares? Like, it wasn't like the government spent millions and billions of dollars that they could have used for social projects and funding in order to buy a banana duct taped to a wall, or buy an idea of the banana duct taped to a wall, or however you want to put it. That, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what happened. It was like a private collector, at least from my knowledge, bought this piece, and that's it. So I just don't get it. I just really don't understand why people are getting upset about it. Why do people get upset at art in general? And it was just like, well, it's not art. And it's like, hey, if you're an artist, you already know. First of all, I think most artists should just say, yeah, it's all art. I have talked before, though, about defining art and what I believe is art and what that includes and what that excludes. And whenever I think about it, I feel like my definition gets more open rather than more narrow. I feel like at first I had no idea what art was, and then I was put in a position where I had to create a definition in university, so I did. And then that really narrowed my scope of what art was, or what I thought, or what I believed to be art. I still use that definition, but with the caveat that, hey, I haven't revisited this definition in a long time. And if you want to know more about that, you can go back and listen to the What is Art episode that Laura Lee and I did together. It's there. We talk about what we believe is art and what isn't art, and what we exclude and include in those definitions that each of us had. So that seems to be the thing. The argument is that it's not art. Well, who cares? Like, I just still don't get it. And with that little pouty meme, it's like, someone else's stuff doesn't undermine your stuff. Like, you undermine your stuff by posting stuff like that, by creating something like that. You just used your time and energy to create an illustration about how no one values your illustrations. Like, I don't know. Like, I understand that it's social commentary, just like this is social commentary. It's like my social commentary and other people's social commentary. But I still don't understand why people get upset about it. So now I'm going to go and do some background here on this specific piece. And then we'll go broader and whatever. But enter comedian Maurizio Catalan, however you pronounce his name. I say he's a conceptual artist. This is not his first piece of art. This is also not his first piece of what I would call conceptual art. And I do call this conceptual art. He had made, I think his most famous piece is called America, and it's a toilet cast in gold. I should have looked up how much that cost, how much he sold it for. But I mean, I think that if people saw that, they would understand it as conceptual art. They would understand it as social commentary. They would realize that, okay, the absurdity of spending that much money on a toilet and what that says. And again, this is a commentary on I think it could have possibly back then been a commentary on the art market, but also just a commentary on what that individual thought of America and spending habits and excess and things of that nature, right? It's not just saying America's a toilet. Like, it's not just one-dimensional like that. I think there's a lot going on there, or more going on there anyway, and that could be appreciated if you were so choosing to do that. And so, anyway, that's one piece that they've done before. So this piece now, we've got the banana duct taped to a wall. I mean, people had asked the artist why, and he's like, oh, I was going to do this like sculpture of a banana duct taped to a wall, and I was going to do this thing, and I was going to do that thing, and then I decided, like, no, none of the materials really work, so I just taped a banana to a wall. There's a lot of problems with this. First of all, I don't understand, and I could have done more research, but hey, I didn't, so that's just where we're at, of the collector who bought it. I don't know if that information is out there, but this is a real banana. Like, it doesn't, like, it's not like the toilet thing was like, oh, this thing's like, well, even if it was a real toilet, the toilet's not going to decompose and go bad. The banana's going to rot and get brown and gross, and that's going to be it. So, also, it's duct taped to a wall. What is that person going to do? Buy and move the wall into their space? Like, and then watch the banana decompose? And then when it's, like, I don't know. Like, whatever's left is what's left. And there's times where I've used certain materials in my artwork, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen to it in a year from now or 10 years from now. It's just, that's what happens. That's what it is. And that's my attitude about it. It's like, I don't use self-combusting materials on purpose. Like, someone's going to buy this, and then in a week it's all going to be invisible. Like, that's not what I do. But there's things that I have put in paintings where I'm like, I just don't know, how long that thing is going to last. Like, sometimes it was like real flowers. And I was like, I just didn't do the research, and I don't care. Like, it looks really pretty right now, and someone's buying it right now, and I don't really know what's going to happen to those flowers, but that's part of the art. That's part of what it is. So you take it or leave it. And that might have been the case with this thing too. I don't know the details on that. But I do know that a lot of people were sharing this thing around and commenting on it without even knowing the title of the work. That's really important. Like, some titles don't mean anything. And in their not meaning anything, they still mean something. I mean, we look at, like, Pollock's paintings, like some of the blue poles. I guess there's things there that look like blue poles. Like, there's, some paintings that just have numbers, like letters and numbers, or untitled. You know what I mean? Like, some untitled paintings are titled, like, untitled for a reason, and some of them are just like, I just don't want to give this anything, and the gallery has to call it something. And rather than having just a blank space with quotation marks around it, they just have untitled. Again, you have to think about art in as many ways as possible. And sometimes not having a title on there is important, and it adds meaning to the work by not having a title, because the artist chose not to do that. And we assume an intention and purpose and a reason and why anyone does anything, including artists. So we assume that they didn't give it a what I'm going to call a proper title for a reason. However, I don't know what that reason would be all the time, right? But it's something to think about. So when artists do give things what I would, again, call proper titles or traditional titles or titles with meaning and whatever, more readable titles, we assume those are with meaning too. So why would people just start sharing this thing around and getting all upset about it? And, I don't like to use the phrase butthurt because I don't know why. I've just always refrained from using that phrase. But I really feel like that really fits how people were acting about this. And I feel like most of the people that were acting this way probably would use that term a lot. And this is like the first time I've ever really used it. So, but it just seems to fit. I just don't get it. Like, yeah, most of these people didn't know the title of the piece. They didn't know there was a title. And the title kind of hints at the meaning. So we're calling it Enter Comedian. Oh, we're talking about comedy. We're talking about a comedian. We're talking about maybe the artist is the comedian. Maybe they're telling a joke. Maybe they're hinting at something. Maybe they're poking fun at something. Maybe this is a comment on the art world, the fact that they would price it and someone would buy it. This is what makes me think of, again, which we've talked about before, and I only have limited references because I'm not an art historian. I'm more concerned about making art and experiencing my life as art and everything else than I am about researching history. I wish I did that more, but I've used this example before, and it's Burger New York by Andy Warhol, right? Like, it's a video of him eating a burger, and that's it. It's like 5 minutes. Why? I propose that he did this because if it was in a gallery setting, and again, this is in like the 80s, and you just sat there or stood there watching this, why? Why are you watching this? I mean, he played with the notion of celebrity a lot, and he was one of the first, artist celebrities. I mean, he was huge. People knew who he was. And it was like, oh, I'm watching this because it's Andy Warhol. If it was just nobody, maybe they wouldn't watch. And I think that was the joke, is like, why are you watching me eat a burger right now? Just because it's in a gallery? Just because it's me? Because someone told you it was art? Like, that's, I think, part of it. I think Enter Comedian is part of that discussion. And talking about why things are priced the way they're priced, or why people would buy things, knowing that maybe they'll decompose, knowing that this is just, even if it was a gold banana, you know what I mean? Like, okay, cool, it's a gold banana. I guess the value of the materials has something to do with it? Like a diamond-encrusted banana, like however many carats is good. I don't even know. But it's not that. It's more important, I think, that the material has almost no monetary value. The duct tape costs more than the banana cost. Like, yeah, it's wild. I like it. I think it's funny. I think that people getting upset about it is really annoying and irritating and also kind of amusing in its own way. It's just this thing that, I don't understand why people get upset about art in general. And this is the one example that I'm using right now because it's very relevant and very contemporary and recent and on people's minds. It just, I don't know. I need to add in the fact that obviously there's things I don't consider art. However, they just happen to be different things, and I have different lines and different definitions and different things that irritate me. But at the end of the day, I mean, like, I make a strong case for it, and the case is that it's conceptual art and it's commentary on, that he's in on the joke, that he created the joke. He's not even just in on it. The artist created the joke. This is the joke. And if you can provide social commentary and criticize the art world while benefiting from it, man, you're laughing all the way to the bank, right? Like, that's just, yeah, that's legit. Like, that's so good. Oh, man, I just really, I didn't pay attention to that piece that much until I started seeing it more and more and more and more and more. Like, I saw it and I wasn't immediately, like, intrigued. Like, oh, let me read about this. What is this all about? Like, no, it was because it kept getting posted and people kept commenting on it and people getting upset about it. And I was like, what is going on? Why are people getting in a twist about this? So I just think that, like, oh, man, okay, I was saying I have my own lines, my own biases, my own definitions, my own things that irritate me about art or what people call art. I try to open my thing up more, and I really still feel like I want to have a definition of art. I want to say that art is only capital A art, or like important art, or art that has a meaning and a message, and everything else maybe could be design. Like that's what I've kind of resigned myself to for a long time. I really feel like art needs to have a definition. I feel like art needs to have boundaries. And so again, if you want to go back and listen to that What is Art episode, it's there. But I really feel like, it needs to have something. It just can't be like everything's art. No, everything can be art or anything, like, you know what I mean? Like, but it has to have meaning there. And then, you know what I mean? Like, it has to have some intention and purpose in their meaning. I create design work, and I've embraced that over the past couple of years. I create things that are aesthetically pleasing with not much, if any, meaning at all. Sometimes I make art about art, and that's somewhere in between what I would call capital A art or just art and design work. But I've definitely embraced design more and more the past couple of years, and a lot of my abstracts, I think, fit more into design than they do art sometimes. I feel like just having fun painting. I'm like, man, this is just fun. Like, there's a skill set that I have now, and I just want to do stuff with it that's fun, and it doesn't have as deep meaning as all my stuff did before. In university, I was very, very, very concerned with meaning, and every single piece had this intention and purpose that was layered. And over time, I don't do that as much for many reasons. One is I don't have as many personal things I need to say through my art, or that's not true. Just different forms. I write now more than I was in that period of time. Maybe I'm also not as angry, and I was making a lot of angry art then. Either way, there's things that irritate me too. So why do people get upset about art? I guess it comes down to the fact that we get upset about art when we don't think it's art. Because there's the times that I get upset about it is when it's an individual. An individual is presenting themselves as an artist because they believe that artists are a prestigious thing or an important thing, or something that should be on a pedestal or revered. And when people do that, like, it's not that I can't relate to that notion, because I'm like, yeah, artists are important. I mean, a lot of people are important, whether they're artists or not. I really love creative people. I love what they can bring to me and enrich my life, and that's why I'm a fan first before I created anything, really. Like, whether it was music or writing or visual art or whatever, like, I'm a fan first, and I believe it enriches my life, and I just so happen to be a creator of things as well. But, when there's certain people that benefit from art when I don't believe they're making art, yes, that annoys me, and that I understand. But I mean, obviously, that they don't fit into my definition of art. Their stuff isn't having an intention and purpose. It's very shallow and base, and in my opinion, doesn't mean anything. And they're benefiting from this title of artist when there's nothing behind their work. I understand how that could be frustrating for sure, and I think that's maybe what a lot of people are doing with this, saying like, that's not art, that's not real art, and like, okay, but so many of the people saying the stuff I don't really feel have stood behind their own definition of art. They haven't really considered things. It's just an immediate reaction, and I don't understand. Like, that reaction to me doesn't, especially you don't even know all the facts, you don't even know the title of the piece, and you're just like spouting off, just like, this is an art, and like, oh, like I said, the pity party of just like, why do I even bother? Like, hey, someone else was saying, that like people may be upset about it because they put all their time and energy into all their work and all their skills, their hard skills that they have honed over the years, and they're not getting any recognition, and they're definitely not profiting. You know what? I'm in that position. I'm in that position too. I don't benefit from my work in a monetary sense. I barely have any recognition. I'm sure the pieces that do get sold, that people get to keep, or the pieces that I give away, or whatever, or sometimes even just posting my stuff online with some thoughts, or it's a piece of writing or something. Sometimes that challenges people. Sometimes they get into it. Sometimes there's a conversation they have with themselves. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that I don't get to see, but I assume that someone becomes inspired for 1 second, or they enjoy it for 1 second, or some people may have that piece for their whole life and hand it down their whole lives and hand it down and down and down, and it stays in the family, or maybe it'll end up in a dumpster. I don't know. But I know that I'm not, like, I'm in the hole. You know what I mean? Like, even if I wasn't paying for a studio space, I'd be in the hole. just by, all the materials that I buy and the pieces that I don't sell, right? And then over time, when things don't sell over a certain course of time, then I lower them in price, and then it's so far from the time that I bought it that it feels like I'm profiting, even when I know, I'm like, oh, I didn't actually make anything on this. But that's not what's the most important thing to me. The need for expression is. And so that is why, I identify with it to a degree. Like, yes, I would rather be recognized more than other people who I feel like aren't making art at all, but for some reason they're doing something that caters to the masses, and the masses are stupid. So it's like that whole thing of, quit making stupid people famous. It's like if no one was watching the Kardashians, then the Kardashians wouldn't be on. And sometimes people cater to that. And when you play the game, it's really hard for me to be upset at you. I get upset at the audience more than I do the creator, right? Like, I'm not that mad at the Kardashians. Like, they're catering to a stupid population. And that's just one example. I mean, there's tons and tons of examples of people who make really base stuff for people to consume. And it's, that's what the market is. So in this case, though, I feel like this person only had to convince one person that it was worth that amount of money when we're talking about Enter Comedian. And they did that. And then they created a discussion. And I feel like that's important. And that's why I'm talking about it right now. Just kind of examining why do people get upset at art, And a part of me was thinking, like, are people just jealous? Like, I think that's when the pity party thing happens. Like, I know I am. There's, like, one artist in particular that I can think of, but I had a personal relationship with them. And then they went on to do all these things and get all these opportunities that I couldn't get. And I was just like, man, the stuff you're making doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't really look good either, in my opinion. But it was just like, just because this or just because that thing or because of this thing, you have all these opportunities. And I was just like, I feel that jealousy. But that was like a personal relationship too. It wasn't just a random person. Yeah. We talked about the Richard Prince thing before, how people get upset about art that way when it comes to copyright and ownership. People get upset about originality too. And I think, like, hey, this banana thing, this is an original idea. So are you upset that someone had the idea and that someone bought the idea and you didn't think of it? Like, the thing is, the person isn't necessarily buying the banana, they're buying the name. This person has built a brand. This person has built something of themselves that it's a brand, it's a name. It's like I have a Maurizio Catalan, or I had one, or maybe I still have the wall in my house, or maybe the duct tape. I got the artist to come and install it in my place, and it's just duct tape, and that's it, right? The thing is that, man, even at the event, it created a discussion of sorts. There was a performance artist that I don't remember their name now, and they just went and ate the banana. They just went and ate it. And, like, that creates a discussion. I wonder if Maurizio was in on that. I wonder if that was a plan. Because now the original was gone. So they were going to get a replacement banana. And when they took the art down, like, took the duct tape off, and they were going to replace the art or whatever, or the banana, and tape it back up again. So another artist went out there and painted Epstein didn't kill himself. Or Epstein didn't commit suicide. One of the two. It looked like blood that they painted in. And they put it in that space with it. Like, people played with that idea. Other artists played off of the backs of that attention. And I think that was a funny thing. I think it was a beautiful thing. I think it was a wonderful thing. I think that it wasn't disrespectful, really. I mean, eating the banana thing was kind of messed up. But I'm assuming because there were no repercussions for that artist, that I'm assuming it was planned. Because that's the thing. What if the collector was like, oh, well, that's not the original banana anymore, so I don't want it. Like, that creates a lot of discussion. And the thing is that disrespecting things is something that I unfortunately enjoy, because disruption is what creates discussion and argument and conflict. And there's no story without conflict. There's no interest without conflict. Obviously, if it happens to me, then that would suck. Like the whole Richard Prince thing, if he saw one of my paintings online and he, took it and blew it up huge on whatever canvas, and it's the most fine, materials ever, and then sold it for $1 million or $50,000 or even $10,000 or whatever, I'd be like, oh, that was mine and whatever. But again, someone is buying the idea. Someone is buying the idea of the fact that that artist stole my visual and blew it up, added maybe a comment to it, gave it a title maybe, and therefore whatever, the context has changed. It's not really my art that they stole. The visual is. But the visual is part of the whole. And the whole is part of this, like, or the whole is an idea. And they sold an idea. And I just think that's rad. Like, I just, that kind of, you know, disrespect, for some reason, there's that part of me that's like, yeah, good. Like, I'm glad that they stirred it up, you know? Again, I would be like, I don't know how exactly I'd feel if they did it to me, because I'd be like, oh, I was trying to sell a piece for $50 and I couldn't even do that, and here you come along and you sold it for $50,000 just because you made it bigger and because you're you. I can't be mad at that, really. Like, it's tough to be mad at that. So why do people get upset at art? I mean, those are the main things I think I want to talk about, because I understand sometimes people get upset about the content, and then they get upset about the placement of the content. Man, let's keep going. Yeah, let's talk about it more. I mean, that's... if you don't know already, I was teaching high school art in a small town, city, not town, in a small city. And there was an exhibition that students from all over the city, all their work was in it or whatever, right? And I had heard later, after this incident, I don't know how much detail I want to go into. Anyway, I was aware that they've had problems in the past where, so this is from K to 12, like students have an opportunity. There's like, it depends on the population of the school. They might have 8 students from each school represented, or 16 represented from each school that are picked by usually the art teacher. And they get framed and they get put up, and there's this exhibition, and I forgot the name of it right now, but there's this exhibition of all the school stuff, and it's great, and everyone comes, and they usually bring their kids and whatever, and it's up in this gallery for a while. But I mean, some people make, even in high school, really interesting art, and some people use nudes in their art too. There were some busts and sculpture. There were some collages of sculpture, I should say. Collages of like Greek and you know, Roman and old school, like, antiquity sculptures. And there was like a nude breast, and ooh, oh no. And there was a big deal about it. Like, parents made a big thing about it. And there was controversy, and it was just like people got upset. I'm like, the content, first of all, it's not even a human. Like, this is a piece of paper of, like, this is a photograph printed onto paper of a sculpture that is millions of miles away, that was created hundreds of years ago, that doesn't look like, I mean, it looks realistic in the proportions and stuff, but it doesn't look like you're looking at a human. It's not in any way pornography. I would not define it that way. We have the human form represented in marble, and you know, and people are going off about it, and I was just like, it was part of a whole concept. It wasn't even meant to be offensive. And even if it was meant to be offensive, this is an art gallery, so get out. Like, I really believe in the freedom of expression. I really do. And obviously there's consequences to your freedom of expression. You know what I mean? Like hate speech and things like that. But pieces that are not even pushing the envelope with things like that. It wasn't even meant to be controversial. It just was existing as this nice piece of art and aesthetics. And like I said, it was a collage. It was just, oh no, I don't want my little kid to see a marble statue of a woman. Like, people have different standards, right? Like, it's a human thing. It's a person thing. When people get upset about over anything, and people choose to get upset about, like, even the context of art. Like, when you're an adult, you have a certain idea of what art is. And I don't think they were challenging what art was. They was like, I just don't want my kid to see this kind of art. Well, then don't bring them. Like, I don't like to censor or set a standard that, like, oh, because they're in high school, I didn't think that they would be, looking at marble statues at this point. Like, ugh. Anyway, what have we covered? We've talked about just basically what people define as art. People get upset because they don't think that should be called art, that it shouldn't sell for that much money. that people can be jealous for whatever reason, usually maybe related to the money or recognition, fame, opportunities, things like that. And then just the fact that something might be offensive. And that's the other thing too. It's like, I really, like I said, I don't believe in censoring, and I really believe that when you're trying to push boundaries and say something, if you put it under the umbrella of art, you can kind of get away with stuff that you normally wouldn't be able to get away with, and that's good and bad, I think. Because I mean, there's certain things that are really messed up. Like I wish I remembered the name of this too, but there was like somebody who bought a dog from like the Pound or like an SPCA type thing, an animal shelter is what I'm trying to say, and they shot it. They like tied it to like a post or something and shot it, and apparently that was art. Like that obviously crosses a line. You know what I mean? Like you start actually harming living things, and that's different. But then we get into like this discussion of, okay, well, they said it was art, so I guess it's still art. It's just really messed up art, and it's art that I wouldn't want to support, right? But that's like music. Well, I was about to go off. I'm branching off into two different areas right now. One thing is like graffiti, right? Like there's some legal graffiti, there's some illegal graffiti, and if you listen to the podcast about that, you know my thoughts on that. But if it is done illegally, is it not art anymore? Like, you know what I mean? Like, some people would say that it's art because it was done illegally. It pushes the boundaries. It sends a message. It has more meaning. There's a concept. There's a reason why it does that versus on a canvas it would mean even less. So it'd be even less art by some people's definition. And then vice versa. Some people think it's only going to exist in a gallery. I mean, or that art only exists in a gallery type setting. So the other branch I was going to go off into, well, I forget. So there you go. What was I saying? Or about to say? Oh, with music, yes. That's the thing. Music is like, I wouldn't want to support certain musicians. I still consider them musicians. I wouldn't want to support certain artists. Let's say I like the music, but maybe the lyrics are absolute garbage. Let's say I like the lyrics and the music, but I can't separate the art from the artist because the artist is a bigot. So I don't support them. I mean, that's like this guy who shot the dog. It's like, whoa, like, if you're calling that art, I mean, like, that's pretty messed up art. And I can't even not call it art right now, but it's way more than that. Like, it's animal cruelty and abuse and, like, wow, like, those are some boundaries you're really pushing there that I don't support. I don't support that type of, you're physically harming things. Things being real, living, breathing things, not inanimate objects like walls. Obviously that can financially hurt somebody if they have to go and clean that up or whatever, right? So there's discussion there. I don't know. Why do people get angry about art? I think that artistic license is something that invites people into the conversation even more, and invites people to comment and get upset about it in ways that they wouldn't if we didn't call it art. So I think that notion is really interesting too. I think that if art didn't already have this rich history that we keep trying to question, then it has a tradition of pushing boundaries. It has a tradition of meaning and trying to say something and trying to reinvent itself and people pushing back and all these different things happening, and all under the umbrella of art, right? That is part of art's history. So people feeling like they can comment on it is really interesting, because it belongs to everybody. That's the beauty of art. Once it's out there, it belongs to everybody, and that's a discussion too of just like, once, even if you create something and you put it on a gallery, is it yours anymore? Like, how much of it is yours? Like, people view it and people interpret it the way they want to and give it a certain meaning that maybe you had no intention of. And maybe you're okay with that, and maybe you're not okay with it, and that's a whole other thing. But it's this interesting dynamic of viewership and art, and who gives pieces meaning and who gets to say what is art and what is not art. And it just fascinates me sometimes what people decide to get upset over. I get upset over tons of stuff. I shouldn't talk, but I mean, I am. So I think that's going to wrap this one up, because I don't really know what else to say about it right now, but it's just interesting what people get upset about. And that this week is my artist life.